Welcome. Welcome to Restore. Tonight we'll be starting on our backs, so you can make your way to your mat and make sure you have any props that you need nearby. So perhaps traditional yoga props like blankets and blocks and straps and bolsters, or makeshift ones. So couch cushions, pillows, folded towels, folded blankets, tea towels, toilet paper rolls, or books. In particular, you'll probably want at least some sort of cushion to place under knees, place under hips, as we're working through some shapes and requiring some extra support. I will make my way to my mat. Once you get onto your back, find a comfortable position. So for now, that might mean bending the knees, feet on the floor, knees falling in towards each other, hands either on your body or somewhere outstretched along the mat. Starting to give over to the earth below. Soften the eyes or close them completely. We start to drop into our breath. We start to watch as the pieces of ourselves that might get a little scattered, might get a little shuffled, start to stack again, like Tetris blocks, aligning and reintegrating. And we come back to the wisdom of our breath over and over, now and through the class, to help us keep that even ground, that connection between doing and not doing, that connection between mind, body, spirit. We watch as we move. This week, I've been exploring the balance, that in between, and also riding the waves from one extreme to the other of being out, living in the world, experiencing this place we call Earth and all of its sights, smells, tastes, touches, experiences. While also recognizing the undercurrent, that which is always there. The spiritual side, the inner world. Sometimes it can feel like a swing from one side to the other, living two different lives. But today we consider maybe that's life. And maybe hanging out somewhere in between the two, yoking the two together. Maybe that's part of the point. As is above, so is below. So on the mat tonight, we use our breath to keep reminding ourselves of this connection between living, doing, and also being, witnessing. Reach the arms up overhead 3 times. Stretch out. Maybe even your legs are ready. We inhale, reach and stretch, and exhale. Let go. 2 more. Last one. Bend the knees and bring the knees in towards you. Give yourself a hug. Rock and roll a little side to side. Make some circles on the ceiling. Beautiful. And now bring the feet back to the earth. You may want something to catch your knees all the way down. You may be okay without it. Bring the feet hip width apart. Lift the hips up and shift them over to the right slightly and let the knees fall to the left. If you're good here, you can just hang out there. Otherwise, maybe you bring the arms overhead in a diamond shape. And just let the body get used to its first shape. A very open twist where we're really awakening the fascia from the knee all the way up through the torso, armpits, fingertips, especially on that right side. Come back to the breath. Watching as you navigate between the 2 extremes of breathing in, breathing out. The breath shows us this beautiful, effortless action. It takes energy, it takes fire. And yet, it's always there, it never ceases. We can control it more, but it doesn't necessarily benefit us, as it will keep going on, even without our control. As we hold these poses for long periods of time too, we also notice where forcing and pushing don't actually get us farther in the long run. The pose that you're meant to be in will find you as you hold this with time. You continue to infuse your body the nourishment, the support, the release that it needs in every pose. One more breath here. And then bring the knees back up. You might take the knees and make some circles again or rock side to side. And prepare to go to the other side. So again, if you need something to catch you, you bring it over to the other side. Lift up the hips, slightly shift them to the left, and let the knees drop to the right this time. Arms come up overhead in a diamond, palms facing up. To explore this nice open twist. As we hold the poses, we also watch the body releasing where we didn't even know we held tension. As we're taken on this passive exploration, we set the intention, we move into the shape, and then we see where the shape takes us. How can you bring that philosophy into life a little bit more? And just like that tension that's uncovered as we hold here, in life we sometimes that need for control, that gripping and guarding creeps up on us. Again, no judgment. It's all about awareness. One more breath in this shape. And then we'll bring those knees back up. Come back to center. Take the knees in the hands. Keep the arms outstretched so that the knees are suspended, dangling here, and you rock side to side. I'm going to hug those knees in and then keep the right knee in and stretch the left leg out along the mat. If it doesn't reach the mat, you might have a pillow or something or a bolster that catches it along the way down. Otherwise, it may come all the way down to the earth. We melt with every exhale, letting that knee come a little deeper in. Even if it's just a micrometer, we explore with our breath with effortless effort. And how do we tell? How can we tell that we're hanging out somewhere in between there? That's the beauty of experimentation, of exploration, of the contemplation of these paradoxes. Sometimes the answer is paradox. Or we see this fluctuation between being and doing, trying and letting go, following the breath. And now let's bring the left knee back in and stretch the right leg out along the mat, or to rest on a pillow or cushion. Let that left femur bone fall into the hip socket. So relax all the muscles that attach the leg onto the torso, onto the pelvis. There are muscles that start up in the spine. There are muscles on the back side of the hip joint, the front, that attach on the inner edge. Explore that entire area. Notice where you can soften more. And then slowly bring that right knee back in. So we're going to bring the feet up towards the sky. This is going to be a happy baby pose here. So you could just wrap your arms around your thighs, drawing your thighs in towards you. If that's still not working, you could still take the knees wide and take your hands on your knees. Or if you'd like to go deeper, taking a hold of the ankles, the outer edges of the feet, or maybe even the toes. And then working on drawing the tailbone back down towards the earth and lengthening the back. So of course we'll get some forward flexion through the spine here in the lower parts. But by trying to drive that tailbone down towards the earth, or down the sacrum down towards the earth, or so, trying to isolate the stretch, the pull, again through the hips. Keep breathing, filling up the body with every breath in. Feeling small little melts back into the pose with the exhales. We're going to keep that left leg where it is, however you have it, and then bring the right foot down to the earth. Bring up the baby pose. That right leg may start to straighten out. It may rest on that pillow again. As we go a little deeper here with the left, again, you may just have the arm around the back of the thigh or drawing the knee in, but this time slightly wider than before. You may be holding on to the shin, the ankle, or other edge of the foot. You may even have pillow or a cushion catching that leg as it comes down towards the earth. The feedback is always nice when it feels like something's there to catch. Something there is to support you. Gives feedback to the nervous system that, yes, you can let go a little deeper. And we'll bring that right leg back up, back into that position, either behind the back of the thigh, the knee, the ankle, the outer edge of the foot. And then that left foot will come down towards the earth. You can start to outstretch that left leg or bring it up on top of the pillow or cushion as we draw that right knee down towards the earth beside you. Another half happy baby. Just noticing what the release physically does for you energetically or emotionally or mentally. Experiencing right here in our bodies the connection between the different layers. And slowly bring the left leg back up. Take the knees and the hands again and do a little side to side motion. So we're going to take either, you can bring the legs up to the sky, or if you do have a cushion or folded towels or blankets, we're going to bring them up under the pelvis. So a bolster works great because it's nice and flat, or even the non-flat ones, but an even surface that can lift the hips up off the floor. What you'll find when this happens is that the legs can actually almost hang here suspended. So couch cushion works well, a few folded blankets, so that you have just this little edge where your pelvis is supported and then your back falls off a bit there. And then we're going to just keep the legs up here, arms at your sides or up overhead. Let the legs fall into the pelvis. So it's almost like legs up the wall. Now, if you are struggling to keep the legs up there, you can actually come against the wall. Or another option would be to loop a belt or a long tea towel or a yoga strap around the feet and hold your legs there with your arms. And that gives you a little bit more stability here. Otherwise, enjoy the feeling of flow from toes to hips for a change. This partial inversion. Let's do 2 more breaths here. And then slowly start to bend the knees. Bring the knees in towards you. Now, if you don't have anything underneath your pelvis here, you'll bring your feet to the ground. If you do, I challenge us, we're going to be doing a supported bridge pose. So I will walk you through first. If you're already got something underneath you, bring one foot down towards the floor and then the other. So the hips will be lifted up slightly, supported from behind. Knees are both pointing in the same direction and upwards. Feet are parallel. And we're in a supported bridge pose here. Now, if you didn't have anything underneath you and you don't have anything to place underneath you, you could also do this with the fists, bringing them right under the pelvis there. You'll find the nice place to put them. And then you support your own self here. Blocks or books work too. Anything you can slide under there that will lift your hips up slightly. And then you can just let the hips go. Make sure the buttocks isn't clenched. We're not holding it up with the buttocks. We're actually letting go down into our support. But getting that benefit of that front body lengthening from knees all the way up to collarbones. hold here for 2 more breaths. And then slowly, this time, come up off your prop. Press that prop out to the side and let the hips come down and readjust to being on the earth. Let the knees fall in towards each other. You might even do some wiggling, some windshield wipers, another hug. Now, again, if you have something, a cushion, you're going to bring it next to you on your right side. Stretch that left leg out, take the right knee in the right hand, and start to open that right leg out to the right. The right toes will be pointing to the right, and then that leg can come to rest on whatever you have there. Your left hand can be kind of not pinning the left hip down, but giving some gentle pressure to keep the pelvis open to the sky, to keep from rolling up off that left hip. So you can find this balanced place. Release to the back of the shoulders, between the eyebrows. And just as before, after finding our way into the pose, we allow the pose to be. Two more breaths here before we go to the other side. And then direct that knee back up to center. And we'll switch. So take a moment between sides if you need to. Bending both knees, stretch that right leg out. Bring the left knee in. Open it out to the left. And either it comes to the earth or it comes to a support. And then we find our place here. One more breath here. And bring that knee back to center. Bring both knees in the hands and give it a rock and a roll. Beautiful. And now we're going to roll over onto our side, press ourselves up, and come to a child's pose. So you can make a supported child's pose. This is the first pretty deep forward fold we're going to be in. So having something to catch you on the way down is sometimes helpful. You can either use another prop, a couple props, or you could use your own arms, but knees apart, toes together, letting yourself get caught on the way down. If you are on some sort of cushion, you can turn the head to one side, and halfway through, I will tell you, we can turn our heads to the opposite side for the last half of the pose. The more height you have underneath you, the more support. If hips can't fall down towards the heels, you can have those hips higher. You can always have something rolled, a towel or a blanket between the knees, the back of the knees, to open that joint a little and give yourself support there. And then you find that release. You watch those pieces that are gripping as they start to dissolve one by one. As we start to down regulate and truly relax. If your head is on one side, you can turn it to the other. Two more breaths here. And slowly press yourself back up. Beautiful. We're going to come into one seated pose. So coming, or two really, coming into a seated position, bringing the feet together, the knees apart. Now, there's definitely ways that you can make this more supported. If the thighs feel like they're hanging too much, you could get anything, pillows, cushions, blocks, folded, rolled blankets, and place them underneath the thighs to really feel supported. Take a hold of the ankles and perhaps start to fold forward. Another way to make this more supported is then to have your cushion catch your head on the way down. I use my arms underneath to prop it up, enough to catch my forehead as I fold forward. So supported by the Konasana. I'll do two more breaths in this pose. And then slowly come back up. The next pose is a similar shape, but you're going to be moving the heels and the pelvis further from each other. So it's a little bit more of a diamond shape. So you may also need to readjust any supports you have. And then same idea. We fold forward, catching ourselves on any props or just hanging out there. So a modified turtle tortoise pose as you fall into your shell here. 3 more breaths here. And then you slowly bring yourself out. Draw any props off to the side. Help those knees in towards each other. Maybe you do some windshield wipers. Maybe you shake them out. So 4, we're going to be back down to our butts again, but not to come back up again. For this one, you're going to need something to lift your heart up. Now, you might not have something like that. You might want to roll some towels up kind of in the same shape as my bolster here. If you do have books or blocks, you can arrange those and then lay a blanket over top to make it a little bit more cushioned. Anything you can find so that as you lay down, your torso is coming up off the mat and your hips, your sacrum are grounded down off onto the mat. And so we're opening that heart up. This is a modified fish pose. So if you don't have anything to help you prop up, you can actually come into fish pose, which is propping yourself up on your elbows, hands, palms to the earth, hands underneath the buttocks, and lifting your heart, letting your head either stay in line or come back towards the earth or a prop. Otherwise, let your body rest here, let that pelvis settle, and breathe into that heart center. How often can you lay back and let the universe catch you? Are you able to trust in that which is constant, to allow your life to happen? In this pose, will you allow your shoulders to fall back, for that heart to be exposed, for the pelvis to give over into the earth? If you need extra height behind the head, you can always put extra blankets underneath there or a pillow. So wherever your throat, your neck feels elongated and safe, more breaths here into the heart center, into the ribs, to that front body. Those exhalations letting you fall back. And let this position, let this feeling become infused into every cell. How can you let the universe catch you when you're off the mat? Slowly roll to one side off of your props and get yourself ready for your final relaxation, Shavasana. Whatever that means to you. You might have something underneath the knees while you're on your back. Placing your pelvis in relaxed, neutral position. The knees slightly bent, hips slightly in forward flexion. You may find another position for Shavasana. You may need to cover yourself with a blanket. Whatever it is you choose, once you've found it, relax your eyes and come back to the wisdom of the breath. Come back to the support that you feel underneath you. Come back to hanging out in that space of living. Completely being here. When we pause, when we hang out and just be, nothing else stops. Nothing within, the breath, the heartbeat, the neurological circuits. The outside world goes on too. And like a river flowing to the sea, still flows in the same direction as when you left it. Whether you're paddling right now or not. Stay here, please, for as long as you can. And make sure you thank yourself before you leave tonight or today. I thank you so much for sharing your journey with me. Om Shanti Shanti, peace.